Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Pastor Bruce. Welcome to amvoice.net, One Man's Voice. Today, I want to talk to you about equality. Are we equal in this country or around the world? And the answer to that is no, we're not. Now, our preamble to the Constitution says we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equally. And stop right then and there. Because we are. That is the truth. We are all created equally. One egg, one sperm. Where and how they got together doesn't matter. That's how we were created. And we are endowed by our Creator. If you're a religionist, it's God. If you're an atheist, it's your parents. We are endowed by our Creator to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So for those of you who believe in abortion, Constitution says, you're entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life, to live, to be who you want to be. Liberty, the freedom to go out there and be that way. And the pursuit of happiness, to get the education, to get the skills necessary to be who you want to be. But that's not the way it is it? You have an educational system that wants to dumb you down. You have actors and actresses out there telling you that the Republican Party is the worst thing in the world. And what you need to do is listen to the Democratic Party and obey the Democratic Party and follow the Democratic Party. Because the Democratic Party will give you welfare and food stamps and low-income housing. The Democrats will take care of you. If you've listened to any of my tapes, it's the Democrats who started the KKK. We'll leave it at that. And they still control it. We have a capitalist system here that gives people the chance to become something great. And if you don't believe me, look at the life of Aretha Franklin. She started off in the slums. Low-income housing. She wasn't the greatest student in the world. She got in trouble. Yet she rose to be the queen of music. When she sang, people stood on their feet and applauded her. Not because of the color of her skin, but because of the talent that she developed over the course of years. She didn't die poor in the slums. She died wealthy. And that's the way we should all go. But we have a Democratic-controlled Congress. Out of the last 100 years, we're going to say 80 of the 100 years, the Democrats have been in control. And all they believe about is spend, spend, spend. The next generation's money. So when they're sitting there like Bernie Sanders and these others saying that the debt that we're rolling up is going to be paid for by our grandchildren or great-grandchildren, guess what? That's exactly what the Democrats have been doing to us for years. Why? Because the greater the debt to the country, the greater the debt to each individual, the more control they have to make you a slave. And for those who don't get an education, they can't add and can't spell or write, have no clue what's going on, you're slaves under welfare and food stamps. When they don't sit there and do what's necessary to get you educated, but to dumb you down, you are a slave to the Democratic-controlled school system. We used to be in the top 10 of the schools, ladies and gentlemen, of industrial nations. We're 37th in our educational system when it comes to the industrial nations. Think about it. We are the greatest nation in the world. We are the nation that the industrial nation looks to lead us, and our educational system is 37th in the world. Why? Dumb us down, make us slaves, create a socialist government. And who's doing it? George Soros is one. He's backed the Democrats and Hillary Clinton. while the rest of us suffer. Now, I don't know the whole story. I'm not going to tell you whether it's right or wrong, but I will tell you this. The Democratic frontrunner for the governor of Florida has been accused of abusing his wife, I believe it is, or his female partner. He has a track record in the city of Tallahassee, one of the worst in the country, and yet the Democrat Party, that is the Me Too movement, the women's movement, and everything else, support this man, even though he might have abused his wife. I want you to think about that. See, if that's the best that they can do, they're going to take it. That is not equality, people. You have to listen, you have to learn, you have to look things up, study things. And there's a place, great place, that you can get all of the information you want about this stuff, and it will not cost you a dime. It's called the public libraries. And the public libraries will have books on everything you need to teach you, if you can read, what's happening. Now, when I graduated high school back in the 70s, early 70s, the educational level for the military was 8th grade, reading level. The national was 9th grade. And so if you couldn't read at an 8th or 9th grade level, most of the chances you weren't getting into the military, because you wouldn't have been able to understand the material that they gave you to teach you the job that you needed to do. Today, the educational level in this country is at 5.3, 5th year, 3rd month. Now, you graduate high school with a 5.3 reading level. Do you really think you're going to succeed in college? The answer to that is no. Do you think you're going to get a job? The answer to that is no. And I remember listening to Rush Limbaugh talking about an airplane factory in Atlanta, or just outside Atlanta, where they were offering $10 an hour. So we're going back a couple of years, quite a few years. $10 an hour to learn how to build aircraft. They were going to pay $10 an hour. And the students that graduated from the Atlanta school system went over there, and they couldn't pass the English or the math tests. That's sad. So they went back and talked to the superintendent, and they said, why? And this is the most pathetic excuse that I've heard. He said, just because they have 12 years of education does not mean that they're ready to go in the workforce. They cannot pass the English and the math test. So what are we going to do? Throw them into another 4-year college where they don't have the ability to understand math and English, and give them another 4 years and cause them to raise a debt of $60,000 to $120,000 to go back out to that same factory and not be able to do it because they can't pass the English and the math? I mean, that is a very pathetic excuse. And you know why? Because my age, I will have to say my grandparents, and some of you will be great-great-grandparents, left school with an 8th grade. That's the highest they could get. 8th grade education. And they built this country. But you with a 12th grade education can't even get a job. So what do you want? What are we going to do? Do exactly what the federal government wants you to do. Go apply to college, get your student loans from the federal government, and owe them the rest of your life. Slavery. That's all the Democrats have been pushing ever since they started this thing, is to keep people slaves in this country. Now, you're saying, well, you're talking about the black people. No, because if you go back and study the slave period, there were white slaves as well. You see, the terminology that they use, that N word that they used, if you looked it up in a dictionary back then, you'll see that it's somebody who was illiterate and unintelligent. Illiterate and unintelligent. It didn't matter the color of the skin, did it? No. That's what the Democrats want. Dumb us down, make you believe that socialism is better. And I will ask this question to any socialist that's running in this country. Did you grow up in America under a capitalist system? Have you ever lived and tried to flourish in a socialist nation? And then the last question, why is it the people in socialist countries are coming to America to make a better life for themselves? They're not going to be able to answer the question. So therefore, socialism is out. They want to destroy this nation. They want to bring us down. If you remember, go back and study, and you'll read about it. When Hillary Clinton handed that red button over to the Russians, she said, this is to help you restart and grow stronger than what you are, to be more powerful than what you are. Once we become a third world nation in this world, who's going to take over? The Russians or the Chinese? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Pastor Bruce. Thank you for listening. God bless, and I hope you all have a great Labor Day.